I got this from Twitter user MadV_MM. He wrote this article about Real Madrid called The Hidden Cost of the Baby Galacticos Project. And I thought this article perfectly described Real Madrid over the past 2-3 seasons. So let's get into it. 2 years ago, Real Madrid were being praised for something unprecedented, transitioning from one golden generation to another without suffering transition years. The formula looked revolutionary, signed the best 16 to 21-year-olds, developed them internally, and let elite talent sort itself out. It felt like modern squad building perfection. In June of 2022, I wrote a piece called Real Madrid's Youth Transfer Policy Has Been a Resounding Success. The model made a lot of sense and hard to argue when it led to 2 Champions League titles in 22 and 24. From 2021 to 2024, the transfer strategy appeared airtight. Elite youth profiles, long contracts, asset value protection, internal development instead of market risk. Madrid moved on from Ronaldo, Ramos, Varane, Isco, Casemiro, Benzema, and just kept winning. The narrative became that the club had cracked the code, but the praise focused on who arrived, not what kind of culture was forming. The underlying assumption was that talent density solves everything. The thought process from the board was, if we have overbought in one area, we can sell and keep the best players. In other words, the cream rises to the top. Every Madrid fan could agree on this. Especially in 22 and in 24, we can agree that Real Madrid had an anomaly of seasons. It wasn't as if Real Madrid had this perfect offseason and built up this team where it was indestructible for us to go undefeated, or it was a foregone conclusion that Real Madrid would and should win the Champions League. Let's be honest, in 24, the best keeper in the world, the keeper that won us the 2022 Champions League, got injured. We bring in Lunin and still win. We just barely survived that Man City game. And in 22, I don't need to describe what happened. Ramadan Karim, Vinny, Courtois, we know what they did. And when an outlier happens, I'm pretty sure any reasonable human could sit back and say, this isn't sustainable. But no, Real Madrid took it upon themselves to say, you know what? Let's build it. Let's continue to keep on this structure. Now, later in the article, it's going to get into what I want to say, so let's continue reading. That Darwinism-like mentality only works in squad building if you take the hard decision to remove excess and define clear roles. Madrid accumulated stars with overlapping skill sets and unclear hierarchy, trusting internal competition to self-organized solutions. Instead, there's congestion on the field and visible frustration with roles. Profiles blurred, a team was never constructed. Instead, managers were forced to put square pegs in round holes. In fact, the youth project may have ended up coddling the players, signed at 16, 18, and multi-millionaires before any real adversity or any maturation process as an adult. The previous Madrid core weren't just elite, they had perspective. Many were players who had something to prove, who had lived different football lives, who understood how thin the margins are at the top. Contrast with the baby Galacticos, players who arrived as teenagers and spent 6 or 7 years inside the Madrid bubble, where privilege can dull your perspective. It creates a different psychological profile. It means the squad did not undergo a simple change in personnel. They also changed the type of professional dominating the dressing room. And it happened gradually as more and more veterans were phased out of the team. I'm hoping a lot of you guys are keeping up with what they're saying. Because of the anomaly, Real Madrid thought it was okay that the youth players would continue having outlier seasons and carry us to the top. Players like Valverde, Vinny, Rodrigo, Jude. There was a point a couple of seasons I looked at the Madrid lineup. I said, wow, Madrid is so young. Valverde was captaining us at 26 years old. Vinny was the third captain at 24. And when Real Madrid don't have true leaders, it seeps into the core and you see what happens. Which is why I'm genuinely confused at Perez, the board. You guys are the elders. You guys are the ones that have been doing this for years. Why can't you see what's going wrong? Why can't you address the problems and stop it then and there? Take Joselu, a youth product who left and became a journeyman across his career. Stoke City, Hoffenheim, a career spent on the margins before returning to Madrid as a veteran. That journey produces perspective, humility, role acceptance. It's the difference between I'm at Real Madrid and I made it to Real Madrid. That's a big point. Do not miss out on that point. You can't quantify that on a spreadsheet or code it into an algorithm, but it's vital to the dynamic within the squad, particularly a club like Real Madrid. Here's an uncomfortable question. Would Luka Modric be signed under today's policy? A Luka Modric that was 27 from Tottenham, expensive, no resale upside, not a generational prospect. The current model most likely says no. Yet Modric became one of the 5 most important players in club history. He spent over a decade with the club and is the most decorated player in Real Madrid history. The policy designed to build for the future would have rejected a key pillar of the past. In all adulation of their youth policy, Madrid became too extreme and too stringent on their current recruiting parameters. Are you guys keeping up with what's going on? Layers of veteran leadership have been removed. Leadership that helps set the standard and kept players in check, including the superstars, Cruz, Modric, Nacho, Joselu, Lucas Vazquez. One could even argue the long-term injuries to Carvajal and Alaba all accelerated the lack of hierarchy in the locker room. This is true. Once again, the imbalances resurfaced. Talent without role clarity. Youth without a model of excellence. Yes, there are tactical issues. Yes, you can put out the frustration with the choices of the various coaches have made, but there is a part of the team decline that isn't tactical. For years, elite leadership helped mask some of the structural weaknesses. The mentality of players like Ramos, Cruz, Benzema, Ronaldo, where are they? They're no longer in Real Madrid. A couple of months ago, I realized when Real Madrid are down, there isn't that switch. Years ago, when Real Madrid was down in 22, 23, 24, you would see the switch that Real Madrid would do from the 80th minute on. Players getting up the field, more energy, getting into the box, we're creating more chances. Vinny being more dangerous one-on-one. Jude Bellingham being more of a presence. Benzema being there. Rodrigo. Now when Real Madrid is down, you don't see it. You don't see that spark. You don't see the click. It doesn't seep into your mind that, oh, maybe something might change. We play the same exact way. This is deeper than effort. This is deeper than just the coaches. And like Leah said months ago about Amram to United.
As a fan base, this football club and this manager in particular are literally cutting the balls off this fan base, bro. We are forgetting who we are, bro.
Real Madrid is being neutered. The standard is dropping. Everything is dropping at Real Madrid, and we're seeing it before our very own eyes. Madrid still has elite pieces. It is true that some of these players simply are not as good as initially thought, or as good as initially projected given their early career exploits, but many within the squad remain amongst the most talented in the world. This is salvageable. There needs to be recalibration on the sporting front. Squads require profile diversity, different technical skill sets, different age curves, different psychological journeys, different role expectations. That means valuing hardened professionals, again, late bloomers, players who understand how difficult it is to stay at the top. It also means confronting the reality that some big players may need to leave. Easy decisions are selling depth players or players that are not commercially attractive, for lack of a better term. This is true. This is facts. I'm even a victim of it myself. Saying players like Ceballos needs to leave, Fran Garcia, David Alaba. Hard decisions means defining hierarchy among stars, taking a definitive stance, structured demands, choosing balance over accumulation. Madrid don't need to abandon the model. They need to evolve the model and add back some of the missing variables. What an article. What a piece by... I'm going to put the link to the article if any Madrid fan wants to read. Madrid are in a wild time right now. Sound the alarms. Madrid is in trouble. Can Real Madrid turn this around? Will Real Madrid turn this around? We don't know. See you guys in the next video.